Good evening, folks. Welcome to Friday Night Tech Talk. I'm Mobile Geezer, which you well know if you're watching on YouTube on my Mobile Geezer channel. But we're also simulcast at the same time on both of my Facebook IDs, Mobile Geezer or George Hayes. So you can follow along in any of the three. Pardon me. And Eleanor's in here. Hi, Eleanor. Glad you're here. Brian was the first one here. Well, he kind of was here, but he wasn't because he peeked in. Pardon me. He was kind enough to peek in from his martial arts class. The guy is so faithful. And then he tried, I guess, to give me a donation with Apple, and it wouldn't let him. So he had to come back to his Android phone. And he so faithfully gave me a donation. And for those who don't know, if you give a donation from an iPhone, Apple is going to take a penny of that. Android doesn't do that. So that's the difference. So he just had to make sure he came in, even though he was at his martial arts class. And Eleanor's right on time, and that's right on time. So the three of the most faithful are in right away. So I just thought that was so nice of Brian. So anybody who's new here, please type something in the comments. Let us know where you're from. And like I said, if you're new, we do this every week. I picked some articles about tech between last Friday and this Friday that I think might be interesting to other tech heads like myself. And I assume most of you are, otherwise you wouldn't be here. And I try to find articles that are very pertinent to any big announcement or presentation made this week. I don't think there were any this week. Let me know if I'm wrong. So I just picked some stories that I thought were just interesting. So, and as I do every week, I'll show you how you can follow along in the show notes on my webpage. So let me share screen here. So if you go to mobilegeezer.wordpress.com, let me switch that. Okay. mobilegeezer.wordpress.com. If you click on today's date, you'll get just the show notes for tonight's show. And as I do every week, I'll give you a little preview while we're here. So, first story, I thought I was going to start off with something that wasn't so heavy duty. It was a little light, but I was wrong. This story is pretty heavy duty. AI speech synthesis may get out of control and dangerous, I put, very quickly. Overall, global regulation is desperately needed. And how that's going to happen you'd have to have governments around the world working together. And right now, that doesn't seem to be happening too much. But anyway, I've got this story on Tech Radar, and he showed how easy it is to just clone his own voice, other people's voices, with or without their permission. And there's a bunch of free apps that allow you to do more and more of this. So that'll be the first story. Second story, I just said Google Gemini offers more powerful free resources. So they took some of their paid resources yesterday, actually, and made some of them that are very heavy duty kind of free. So that's on Tom's Guide. We'll take a look at those. So Gemini, they really want people using Gemini, and Gemini is getting more and more powerful. Third story. What is the Fediverse, and should I use it for social media? I found this on a site called The Conversation, and it's very interesting with people leaving Facebook and X. And you can use the Fediverse, but it's not like those, and we'll see that when we get into the article. And after that, this one I found really interesting. Did Saudi Arabia just buy Pokemon? I believe they kind of did. And Scopely is the name of the company that actually bought the Pokemon games. I say games, more than just Pokemon, but they're owned basically by the country of Saudi Arabia. So just an interesting story. And then Chrome, the older Chromecast, which is all the ones I have and Elmer has, I gather they're not even working at the moment. So older Chromecast having serious issues. Google's working on a fix. That's on Tech Radar. Oh, and the Scopely story was on Engadget, sorry. And my last story, Amazon's Alexa Plus, which we gave you a story about that last week, benefiting from Siri's ongoing AI issues. All the problem Apple's having getting Siri launched with their AI, well, Alexa's benefiting from that, especially since they just upgraded Alexa to Alexa Plus. So those are the 6 stories we'll get into tonight. Any chance Ted coming in? Don't know. Haven't heard from Ted. And of course, I haven't heard from Will. Mike is probably out making money. So as usual, if it's just me, it'll be a quick night. But nothing else new in the comments. So let's go back to the first story. AI speech synthesis may get out of control and dangerous very quickly. Overall, global regulation is desperately needed. And this is on Tech Radar. And this was from yesterday. I cloned my voice in seconds using a free AI app, and we really need to talk about speech synthesis by Lance Ulanoff, who does great articles for them. AI copycat voices are on the rise. So let's just drop it into reader view. Do these ads. That voice you hear, even one you recognize, may not be real, and you may have no way of knowing. Voice synthesis is not a new phenomenon, but a growing number of freely available apps are putting this powerful voice cloning capability into the hands of ordinary people, and the ramifications could be far-reaching and unstoppable. A recent Consumer Reports study that looked at a half a dozen such tools put the risks in stark relief. Platforms like 11 Labs, Speechify, Resemble AI, and others use powerful speech synthesis models to analyze and recreate voices, and sometimes with little to no safeguards in place. Some try, Descript, for example, good for them, ask for recorded voice consent before the system will recreate a voice signature. But others are not so careful, so it's kind of wild, wild west, I guess, for most of them. I found an app called PlayKit from PlayHT that will let you clone a voice for free for 3 days and then charges you $5.99 a week. The paywall is, in theory, something of a barrier against potential misuse. Yeah, good luck with that. Except that I was able to clone a voice without starting the trial. So he was able to do it without even, having the free thing charge him or be recognized that he even used it, I guess. So like I said, wild, wild west. Say too easy. The app whisks you through setup and then presents them pre-made voice clones, including ones for President Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Yes, you can make the president say things like, I think DEI should be supported and expanded around the world. It's pretty cute. But at the top is a clone a voice option. So I guess you can clone anybody's voice. All I had to do was select the video from my photos library and upload it. Videos must be at least 30 seconds long, but not longer than a minute, so easy for most of us. And in English. I could have chosen one with anyone in it, and if I had, say, filmed a clip of a George Clooney interview, I could have uploaded that. More on that later. So it sounds like, this could get dangerous in the wrong hands. The system quickly analyzed the audio. The app doesn't tell you if this is being done locally or in the cloud. Well, I'd assume the latter, so would I, since such powerful models rarely work locally on a mobile device. I saved my voice clone with my name, so that I could select it again from the list of cloned voices. So I'm thinking, I haven't tried this myself yet, but I'm thinking if I use this now, I've got more of my stuff in the cloud. Do I want to do that? Well, this is part of giving up some of our privacy, I guess. When I want my clone to say something in my voice, I simply type in the text and hit a big generate button. That process usually takes 10 to 15 seconds. The voices PlayKit generates, including mine, are eerily accurate. That's kind of scary. If I have one criticism, it's that the tone and emotion are a bit off. Cloned me sounds the same whether it's talking about what to pick up for dinner or saying it's been a terrible call, Chris. Well, at least that should point out to you that it's not real. Even exclamation points do not change the expression. And yet, I could see people being fooled by this. Remember, anyone with access to 30 seconds of video of you speaking could effectively clone your voice and then use it as they wish. That's not good. Sure, they'd have to eventually pay $5.99 a week to keep using it, but if someone is planning a financial scam, they might think it's worth it. I can see where they would. Platforms like this do not require explicit permission for the voice cloning. That's bad that it doesn't require that. Are sure to proliferate, and my concern is that there are no safeguards or regulations in sight. That's right. Services like Descript, which require audio consent from the clone target, are outliers. Well, good for them. PlayHT claims that it protects people's voice rights. Get this. Here's an excerpt from its ethical AI page. Our platform values intellectual property rights and personal ownership. Users are permitted to clone only their own voices or those for which they have explicit permission. And well, how would it know if you've got that permission? This strict policy is designed to prevent any potential copyright infringement and uphold a high standard of respect and responsibility. I'll bet you somewhere it's going to say they're not responsible for what goes on there then. It's a high-minded promise, but the reality is that I started recording 30-second clips of famous movie monologues by Benedict Cumberbatch and Al Pacino, and in less than a minute had usable voice clones for both actors. And there's some screenshots of what he did. This sounds pretty scary if you're the person being cloned. What's needed here is global AI regulation. Yes, that means countries agreeing all around the world. But that needs agreement and cooperations at the government level. And right now, that's not forthcoming. In 2023, then President Joe Biden signed an executive order on AI that sought, in part, to offer some regulatory guidance. He followed up with another AI-related order early this year. That's true. And those were, I think, pretty good starts at trying to regulate. The Trump administration is allergic to government regulation. Well, they're trying to get rid of regulations and any Biden executive order. That's probably true. That was true of both of them. And quickly revoked it. The problem is that it has yet to propose anything to replace it. Yeah, they should do that sooner rather than later. It seems the new plan is to hope that AI companies will be good digital citizens and at least try to do no harm. Yeah, good luck with that. Unfortunately, most of these companies are like weapons manufacturers. They're not harming people directly. No one who makes a voice clone is calling you your aging uncle and convincing him with your voice clone that he urgently needs to wire you thousands of dollars. But some people who are using their AI weapons are. There's no easy solution for what I fear will become a voice cloning crisis. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. But I would suggest that you no longer outright trust the voices you hear in videos on the phone or in voice messages. If you're in any doubt, contact the relevant person directly. In the meantime, I hope that more voice platforms insist, I think that should be the least that they could do, on voice and or documented permission before they allow users to clone anyone's voice. So I think this could develop into something pretty serious, and like I said, I think we need regulations sooner rather than later, but on a country by country basis, it's not going to do a whole lot unless countries start agreeing So just thought it was a interesting story to start with, and he makes some very serious points. So nothing new in the comments. Let me move on to Gemini. Like I said, this week is all stuff I just thought you guys might find interesting because I found it interesting. Google Gemini offers more powerful free resources. Found this on Tom's Guide. And this is also published yesterday. Google is giving away Gemini's best paid features for free. Here's the tools you can try now by Amanda Caswell. Expanded research, better personalization, and more. That's true. I'll try to show you guys as we go down to the article how you get into it. I think I can do that here, but you'll see that when we get there. All right, into reader view, get rid of the ads. Google is taking Gemini to the next level and giving users more for free as the company announced new upgrades today. This was yesterday, aim to make Gemini even more useful and personal. And I do find Gemini to be very powerful and certainly better than Google Assistant. And I heard another video while I was working today that Google Assistant is pretty much on its way out and everybody knows it. So be prepared, folks. If you haven't started using Gemini, you will if you're going to use Google. Upgrades include tailoring the chatbot's responses based on user search history, enhancing deep research, and improving its connectivity with Google's suite of apps. Google search history integration. Gemini is getting more personal, which is the most significant update. New personalized responses powered by Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking, experimental. Let Gemini now reference your Google search history. I don't know if I want them doing that in my search history to deliver more relevant answers, but of course they have to if you want to use it. Don't worry, it asks for your permission before diving in. Letting Gemini have access to your search history lets the chatbot tailor its suggestions based on what it knows about your interests. And it's going to know more and more as time goes on. You can count on that. Activating this feature begins in the Gemini app by opting into personalization, again, experimental. This option is not permanent. If you give it a try and change your mind, you can disconnect it. All right, let's see if I can show you guys how to get into it. I'm going to open another Google window. I believe I made myself a bookmark for Gemini. Yes, I did. All right, so you go into Gemini, and it's gemini.google.com. Okay, so it knows it's me. And the new stuff, where was it? Yeah. So if you click up here with Gemini Advanced, and this is all the stuff they gave us yesterday. Remember the article said 2.0 Flash? Here's 2.0 Flash. And there's 2.0 Flash Thinking, which we also mentioned in the article. We didn't get the deep research yet. And we saw personalization. Again, all this experimental. And then later on was the 2.0 Pro experimental. So just wanted to show you guys how to get into it. Google.gemini.com. Click up here in advance and you'll see all the new stuff. And this stuff is all stuff you paid for until yesterday. So interesting. So just wanted to show you guys it was easy to get into. So, and remember, you can, if you give it a try, you can change your mind. You can disconnect it. Do I trust that they're not keeping stuff from me? Probably not really, but I guess they're not supposed to. Deep research just got smarter. First introduced in December, deep research was designed to help users analyze information, synthesize reports, and explore topics more easily with greater speed. Today, Google is rolling out deep research powered by Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking, which we just saw, enabling users to generate detailed multi-page reports on virtually any topic in minutes. And I have had Gemini do some summaries for me, but I gather it's going to be a lot better now. And I'll probably be trying some of this stuff out before next week, and I'll try to remember to come back and give you a small report on how I think it is. But my guess is this is going to be very powerful and probably very helpful too. Just remember, you're probably giving up more privacy the more you use this stuff. This upgrade improves Gemini's ability to plan, search, reason, analyze, and report. And this is all about you, remember, essentially becoming a full-fledged AI research assistant. Users can see how Gemini thinks as it browses the web, providing greater transparency into how it gathers and interprets information. Well, I guess that's good to know how it's getting it. Best of all, Gemini Deep Research is now free, which we saw there, for all users, with Gemini Advanced subscribers getting extended capabilities. So people who pay still get even more powerful tools. Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking upgrades, which we saw that there too. The 2.0 Flash Thinking experimental model, which enhances Gemini's reasoning, efficiency, and speed, now includes a 1 million token context window for Gemini Advanced users. Be AI savvy. Oh, no. Sorry, looking at the commercial. In other words, Gemini can process and analyze much larger data sets, making it even more capable for complex problem solving and long-form content generation. So this is probably very, very useful. Additionally, Gemini can now handle file uploads, allowing users to interact with documents and retrieve insights more effectively. Connected apps bring seamless AI assistance. Google is also expanding Gemini's reach within its own ecosystem. The AI assistant can now connect with calendar, notes, tasks, and photos. I knew photos was coming, enabling users to make complex multi-app requests in a single prompt. Now get this. For example, you can ask Gemini, look up an easy cookie recipe on YouTube, add the ingredients to my shopping list, and find grocery stores that are still open nearby. That's all just in one short sentence. I assume it just does all of that. In the coming weeks, Google Photos will be added to this integration, making it easier to recall past events or organize personal memories through Gemini. Custom gems for everyone. Another big win for users is that GEMS, the custom AI assistants, and that's, remember, assistants are the key to everything with AI. And everybody's releasing a lot of assistants, and they do very specific things that specialize in specific tasks, exactly, are now rolling out for free. Whether you need a meal planner, language tutor, or workout coach, GEMS lets you create a personalized AI assistant tailored to your needs. Users can even upload files when creating GEMS, giving them even more context and functionality. Now, here's the part that I'd be iffy on. Privacy remains a priority. With these personalization features, Google emphasizes that privacy and user control are built in, I'm sure. Gemini will only use your search history when you've explicitly enabled it. Yeah, but will it save it? And will always display a clear banner when personalization is active. That's good. Users can manage and delete their data at any time. So if I delete my data, did you really delete it? That's what I need to know. Ted's in here. Yeah, because Brian is at his martial arts class. Ted says, remember, Brian, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Sounds like me when I was boxing at the gym with the pros. If you're home, Ted, you can come in here, but you have the link. So I'm always hoping. Okay. So will they really delete my data? It says it will. I guess we're supposed to believe it. So how to try the new Gemini features. These upgrades are rolling out starting today and will be available, this is yesterday, of course, to users worldwide in over 40 languages. Gemini's personalization feature is available on the web and will gradually expand to mobile. And I showed you how to write. I think right now it's only on the web, but I showed everybody how to get it. But just in case you didn't see it, like Ted wasn't here. All right, so Ted, they released yesterday, Google released a whole bunch of what were paid Gemini features, and now they're free to use. So I showed everybody where you go. You go to gemini.google.com, you click on the advanced up here, and here's all the new stuff that was paid up until yesterday. And now this stuff is free. There's still a paid version that's even more powerful, but I haven't used this yet. But it sounds like these are going to be very powerful features to use. So that's how you get there, gemini.google.com. So pretty powerful stuff being released by Google. And like I say, the privacy is the only thing that gives you some trepidation, or gives me some trepidation. So that's number 2. If Ted comes in here, we'll get very blessed. But I don't know if he's home or not. Quick drink. Oh, and normally I do tell you what 2 phones I have with me today. Let's left screen for a minute. When I remember that today I had the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Nothing Phone 2. Nothing Phone 2 was my major, and the 15 Pro Max was my backup. And I'm wearing my Amazfit watch today, and I have my Nothing Phone 2 connected to it. That's why I had that as my main phone today. So tomorrow, I guess I'll be wearing my Apple Watch, and my iPhone 15 Pro Max will be my main, and I haven't decided on what the backup will be yet. So we'll move on. Let me back to showing screen again. If Ted does come in, I'll let you guys know. And here's one I just found interesting. What is the Fediverse? And I didn't know. I didn't even heard of it until yesterday. And should I use it for social media? And like I said, I found this on a site called The Conversation. The Fediverse promises social media without big tech if it can avoid familiar pitfalls. So there's some iffiness here, but you'll see what I mean when we get into it. So this was published on March 12th. That's 2 days ago. And let me and I don't see who wrote it. I'm not used to The Conversation. So I'm not sure about okay. Okay, it was written by Aram Sinreich. I guess that's how you say it. I hope I didn't butcher his name. All right, let's go into reader view. And this is kind of interesting, especially if you want to get away from X, Facebook, and others. Oh, now it says written by Robert W. Gell, so maybe that's who wrote it. All right, you've probably noticed lately that a lot of people are trying out alternatives to the big social media networks X, Instagram, and Facebook. For example, after Elon Musk bought Twitter in 2022 and started allowing far more disinformation and hateful content on the site renamed X, advertisers and users started backing away. More recently, Meta's decision to roll back hate speech rules has prompted many people to consider leaving Instagram and Facebook. Like I said, this is giving people more options. Some of the most popular new destinations include federated services. I hadn't heard of this until yesterday, like Mastodon, which I had heard of, and PixelFed, as well as the quasi-federated Blue Sky, which I think probably all have heard of that. Mike is on that now, I know that. Federated means decentralized. Rather than one central service like X, federated systems have tens of thousands of servers, so they're all working together, which means probably a bunch of different people have control. May or may not be good, but we'll see that. They also tend to be nonprofit and community run, so a lot of people are running this stuff. Federated services, otherwise known as the Fediverse, have been hailed as a network for public communication, dialogue, and debate where ordinary people, not corporations, shape their social spaces and where advertisers' hate speech and intrusive algorithms are much easier to avoid. Makes you wonder how much actual advertising do they get? I would guess not much. News organizations, nonprofits, universities, and even governments have experimented with the Fediverse and Blue Sky, partially or even completely shifting their social media presence away from X. Well, I haven't tried any of this yet. However, as we researchers who study media and the communications and our co-authors, Thomas Stewart and Patricia, okay, this is going to be a hard one for me, Patricia Aufderheide, okay, not so hard, describe in a recently published paper, history provides numerous examples of other promising platforms for the digital public sphere that have died untimely deaths. Sorry. We identified potential pitfalls from these examples and ways to avoid them. So they're trying to make the Fediverse more dependable. And Ted says Fediverse is Web 3.0. I think, yes, probably a part of Web 3.0 or considered part of Web 3.0. That's my guess. Makes sense. Okay. Hey, we're all learning together here, folks. The Fediverse in a nutshell. We identified 3 such challenges: too many cooks, commercial capture, and guilt by association. So, too many cooks, that's because a lot of people are running this up, not just one entity like a corporation. And commercial capture, we have to read about that, and guilt by association. Too many cooks. One nice thing about the big social media platform is that you know who's in charge. Yeah, in this case, you're not going to know who's in charge. But instead of centralizing power like Meta or X, the Fediverse has a distributed governance structure. While decentralized governance helps the Fediverse avoid some of the pitfalls associated with the big social media platforms like political censorship and surveillance capitalism, it introduces other risks that must be addressed before the Fediverse can serve as a worthy replacement. In short, when too many cooks are in charge, it's hard to make a good meal. Take content moderation, for example. That's going to be tough. The Fediverse offers great tools for blocking and built-in codes of conduct, but these tools are specific to individual instances, the tens of thousands of Fediverse servers. Who decides who gets blocked? Yeah. With no central authority, governance is in the hands of Fediverse members who use hashtags like Fediblock to loosely coordinate. Yeah, it's going to be tough to keep track of what's going on here, I think. And that means people who are more likely to be harassed also end up having to do more of the work to prevent harassment. So you're kind of forced to become a volunteer, I guess what that means. Next step, commercial capture. The Fediverse, like email or the web itself, is open source. And that's, people praise open source, but this is, kind of the other side of open source, or the downside. It was also developed with no input from the big social media platforms, but its origins won't necessarily prevent the big platforms from taking over. Yeah, I guess they could. Look what happened to email, for instance. Once upon a time, there were thousands of different email providers, but today nearly everyone is on Google's Gmail and Microsoft's Outlook, mostly because those companies added extra bells and whistles and sold email as a part of larger packages to employers, schools, and other organizations. And that's pretty much true. We all use them for all that stuff that's wrapped in the package. This could easily happen again. Meta has already used Fediverse protocols for its new microblogging service, Threads. So I guess Threads is part of the Fediverse, I guess. While this helps Threads and Mastodon users to communicate, it also means Meta has a vested interest in shaping the technology's future in ways that might conflict with the hopes of today's Fediverse users. Yeah, who's going to be in charge here? Especially those who just fled Instagram and Facebook. It's easy to build your own social media media platform in the Fediverse. Running one is another matter. Exactly. And the other part, guilt by association. While some social media companies might seek to capture the Fediverse, others might seek to undermine its reputation by highlighting some of its unsavory uses. Yeah, and unsavory people on there using it. I guess so. This has happened with several beneficial alternative technologies in the past, such as peer-to-peer file sharing. That's true. The dark web and end-to-end encryption. Well, let's hope it's not like the dark web. The Fediverse is already facing such challenges. In 2023, researchers at Stanford University published a report suggesting that child sexual abuse material can easily find a home on the Fediverse. Yeah, that would make sense. Couple this with claims from researchers that toxic content is prevalent and spreads rapidly across the Fediverse, and a terrifying narrative emerges in which child sexual abuse material is spreading out of control. Now, they're not saying it's happening, but they're saying how easily this could happen. Though this content could flourish in pockets of the Fediverse, the scary scenario of prevalent child sexual abuse material is not the case, so it hasn't happened yet. There are many moderation tools that's good, including shared block lists that prevent it. However, the idea that the Fediverse is full of harmful content was used by Elon Musk to justify his anti-competitive decision to block links from X to Mastodon. So he, I guess, doesn't let Mastodon on X because it's part of the Fediverse. Which I guess, you can justify that. Can these platforms survive? I don't know. We're still bullish on the Fediverse and on Blue Sky if it manages to become a truly federated platform. So I gather Blue Sky is only partially. But democratized tech doesn't guarantee democratic outcomes. If these platforms are going to deliver on their promise, it's important to learn from the mistakes of the past. That will mean users putting in the work to make sure they remain safe, accessible, non-commercial, and well-respected. So, like I said, it kind of forces you to volunteer if you really want to use these platforms effectively. So, anybody wants more information on the Fediverse, I guess you can just go out there and do some searching, and you'll probably get a lot of information. So that's my first even look at this stuff, or hearing about it, really. So I hope you guys are finding this interesting. That one I found very interesting. It's always interesting when you learn something brand new to you, and that was to me. All right, next one up. Scopely, that's the name of a company. I said, did Saudi Arabia just buy Pokemon Go? This was on Engadget. And the answer, I believe, is yes. So let's go on Engadget and see. Pokemon Go maker Niantic sells its game division, so it sold the game division, to Saudi-owned Scopely. Now, Scopely, I believe, is a California company, which you'll see here, but the Saudi Arabian government now owns them. The deal is valued at $3.5 billion, and this was just from 2 days ago, written by Lawrence Bonk. Oh, and read a view. Okay. Niantic Labs just announced that it has found a buyer for its game division after putting out feelers back in February. The Saudi Arabia-owned company Scopely has agreed to purchase the division for $3.5 billion. Scopely was founded in Los Angeles, but was purchased using money from Saudi Arabia's Sovereign Wealth Fund, otherwise called the Saudi Public Investment Fund. The agreement includes most of Niantic's portfolio of AR games, including Pokemon Go, and yes, 4 or 5 years ago, I was as crazy about it as everybody else, Monster Hunter Now, and Pikmin Bloom, among several others. It also includes the company's social companion apps for Pokemon Go, Campfire, and Wayfarer. I don't know those. The deal is still subject to regulatory approval and other closing conditions, so it's not completely closed yet. Scopely says it will receive Niantic's entire team of exceptional game makers, I guess they'll be working for them now, and category leading games. There are a couple of titles, however, missing from this purchase. Niantic Labs will retain the AR gaming titles Peridot and Ingress. I've heard of Ingress, I never heard of Peridot. Scopely is a major player in the mobile games industry. It's the company behind games like Star Trek Fleet Command, Marvel Strike Force, I know that one, and Monopoly Go, to name a few. As for Niantic's games division, it's a shadow of its former self. Pokemon Go engaged more than 500 million players in its first year. I was one of those. But the game's staying power has waned in recent times. At its peak, the mobile monster battler attracted over 230 million players each month. Nowadays, that number has shrunk to around 80 million. Still, that's not too bad, I don't think. Just way below the original number. The company has also struggled to replicate the Pikachu-shaped lightning in a bottle with other titles. It tried to reskin the Pokemon Go formula onto other franchises like Harry Potter and NBA basketball, but nothing stuck. The Monster Hunter and Pikmin projects, however, are still active. This led Niantic to cancel multiple games and lay off hundreds of employees. I always hate it when people get laid off. Niantic's valuation has taken several hits, and the company's long-promised real-world metaverse has yet to materialize. That's probably true. If the sale goes through, the company will focus on building out its standalone entity, Niantic Spatial. This group builds real-world 3D maps and is led by company CEO John Hanke, I guess it is, or Henke. The Saudi PIF has become a major player in the games industry in recent years. It not only owns Scopely and its parent company, Savvy Games Group, but it has financial stakes in organizations like Nintendo, EA, and Activision Blizzard. So I guess they're becoming a big deal. And that PIF is owned by the Saudi government. So this was a very interesting story, and governments are now getting into games, and I gather this one big time. Okay, let me get a drink of Coke if you don't mind. When I talk a lot like I do during the show, throat gets dry, and that's where the little bit of coughing comes in. Okay. Older Chromecasts having serious issues. Google working on a fix. Now, Eleanor and I both had these older Chromecasts, but neither of us has tried using them in quite a while, so probably a good thing we didn't. So this was on Tech Radar, so let's go take a look. Chromecasts are still broken, but Google tells fuming owners not to factory reset their devices, so remember that. By David Nield, published 3 days ago. Google says it's still working on a fix. So into reader view we go. Yeah, this is the second gen Chromecast, which has been hit. I don't have the second gen. I have the original ones, or a few of the original ones. Actually, I think I have both. A couple of days ago, we reported on issues affecting older Chromecasts and the Chromecast audio device. I don't have that, preventing them from casting. Google has now provided another update for affected users, though it's not particularly helpful. As per a post to the official Google Nest Support forums, Google engineers are working to resolve this, must be a tough one then, as soon as possible, and will keep you updated when there's more to share. And there's the usual apologies for inconvenience. So they don't have a clue what the problem is, it sounds like. Apparently, the cause of the issue well, I guess they don't have a clue how to fix it, because further on, it does tell you they know what caused this. Apparently, the cause of the issue has been identified, but Google hasn't shared what that is yet. What it is reiterating is not to factory reset your Chromecast if you're affected, as this will lock you out of the device completely. So don't factory reset. Instructions to factory reset Chromecast are still on display in the official Chromecast Help Center. They should get that out of there, I would think. And it's usually such a helpful troubleshooting approach, but not this time. But you shouldn't do it this time. Google has intimated it will help those users who have done a factory reset with specific instructions in due course. So it must be pretty complicated to undo that, it sounds like. What's gone wrong? If you're new to this issue, it prevents users from casting anything. All they get is an untrusted device error and the option to dismiss it. The only models that seem to be affected are those launched in 2015, the second gen Chromecast and the Chromecast Audio. Okay, so I have some of the second gen and I have some of the ones even before that. As Google hasn't provided any details about why this is happening, we're left to speculate. If you go back to the Reddit thread where this was first reported, there is some investigation there that points to a server-side issue. So a problem at Google's end. Yeah, the server side that's going to be on Google's. That's owned by Google. The blame can apparently be assigned to an expired certificate authority validation, a security process that guards against hacking and snooping and which needs to be regularly repeated. It seems the affected devices are no longer recognized as being genuine Chromecasts. I think they'd be able to update that, which is in turn preventing any casting. That makes sense. It's an incredibly frustrating bug for users. Yeah, for people who use this a lot, it must be driving them crazy, who continue to be unable to send their audio and video streams to bigger screens and remain in the dark about when a fix might arrive. We will, of course, keep you posted here. So, since it seems to be affecting the second gen, I guess sometime over the weekend, I'm going to see if any of the first gens are still working. It sounds like maybe they are. Anyway, just an interesting story. And if you have Chromecast and you turn on and try to put it on TV and it's giving you that error, well, now you'll know why. So that's the kind of story I think is just good for everybody to know. And nothing else new in the comments. So down to our last story. You know, we've done some videos and we've seen a bunch of videos and stories about how Apple cannot get the AI working on Siri that they've been promising for over a year. Well, guess who's benefiting? Alexa Plus. So let's go on Tech Radar. Amazon's Alexa Plus benefiting from Siri's ongoing AI issues. Advantage Alexa, Apple's smart home hub reportedly postponed due to Siri slowdown, by Alex Blake. This is getting more and more embarrassing for Apple. Alexa Plus raises her glass to the latest Apple rumors. I'll bet you they do. So let's go to read review. Apple was first reportedly looking to expand further into the smart home space in 2025 with a home hub device that would combine a speaker with a display, potentially making it one of the best smart speakers around. Unfortunately, there's been some bad news for those looking forward to it, as Apple has reportedly delayed the device for the foreseeable future. The news comes via Bloomberg reporter Mark Gurman, and he's almost always right on the money. Mark Gurman's Power On newsletter. There, Gurman explains that Apple had hoped to announce this product in March, yet with more than a third of the month already gone, well, now half a month's gone, that's now looking highly unlikely, and it seems it seems to be delays could drag on due to Apple's problems with rolling out its AI-infused Siri. Yeah, that's not happening. Apple's Home Hub will apparently rely heavily on some of the upgraded Siri capabilities that Apple teased last June, so it's been a long time, at its WWDC, so it hasn't been a year yet, 2024 conference. These features include understanding your personal context and performing in-app tasks. Yet, news emerged last week that Apple would be postponing those features. Yes, it did. In a statement to Apple blog Daring Fireball, Apple explained that it's going to, and I gave you a video about this. It's going to take us longer than we thought to deliver on these features, and we anticipate rolling them out in the coming year. So right now, it could be this year or even next year. That's what everybody's speculating. According to Gurman, Apple feels that the Smart Home Hub is unviable without those missing features. This means we'll have to wait for the upgraded Siri experience later in the year, we hope, before the hub makes an appearance. Apple versus Amazon. And it could get worse. In a report released last week, Gurman stated that some senior Apple execs are so concerned about the state of Siri's promised features that the entire system might have to be scrapped and rebuilt from the ground up. If that happens, the features might not arrive until 2026. I can imagine the developers that have already been fired over this. Because once Apple put themselves out there promising over and over that it was coming, and it keeps failing, that's getting worse and worse and worse. That could potentially mean Apple losing significant ground, against rivals like Amazon. The company recently announced that the Alexa Plus smart home assistant, which we reported on last week, which infuses Amazon's home devices with artificial intelligence powers. That's exactly the area Apple's Smart Home Hub is targeting, and Apple won't want to lose too much of the initial initiative here. I don't think they have a choice. That said, it sounds like the hardware of Apple's Home Hub is closer to a finished state than its software. Gurman reported in his Power On newsletter that select Apple employees have been taking the hubs home for in-site testing and evaluation. That suggests that the device itself isn't too far from being ready, even if its Siri software is a long way off. Yep, that's exactly what it implies. As for when we'll see this product hit store shelves, that's anyone's guess. I'm going to guess next year. If Apple can perform a miracle and fix up Siri in the coming months, we might not have to wait too long. But judging by Gurman's reporting, we may have a lengthy delay on our hands. Let's see. Ted said, imagine losing smartphone market share because of AI. Insanity. And that's exactly what they're doing. This has been a huge embarrassment. The entire iPhone 16 sales pitch has been, you're going to get the AI, you're going to get the AI. The AI is almost non-existent. So I'm glad I stuck with my iPhone 15 Pro Max. So this is the continuing, ongoing embarrassment of Apple. And let's see, it's been going on at least 7 or 8 months now. So it'd be interesting to see how much longer. I mean, maybe they'll get it done this year, but I don't think it's looking good at all. So, as I said, being alone, it's a quick night for me, but we got almost to 9 o'clock, so we're doing pretty good. I'm glad at least Ted was in here in the comments, and I'm guessing Ted's probably not in his apartment, otherwise he probably would have joined us. So appreciate you jumping in, Ted. So as always, folks, I hope everybody has a very, very blessed weekend. I'll be back next week. Maybe we'll get lucky and have Ted here too. And let's always remember, we all do better when we love each other. See you next week, folks.